Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here and this is maybe your first time watching one of our videos, go ahead and like the video first and then subscribe to the channel. That's how you can get more of this kind of content. And then write some comments in the comment section below. And welcome to Guitars and Gear Stuff. If you have been with us for a long time and you're like, oh my gosh, these lessons for beginners are way too not advanced or not what I need, click out of this video. This one isn't for you. Go to another one. There's all kinds of videos on here for you. But if you are starting out on guitar and beginning on guitar, these lessons are for you. If you're just starting out on guitar and you haven't gone to lesson 1 and watched that, stop this video, go back to lesson 1, watch that, so you'll be all caught up for this lesson. If you already did lesson 1, welcome back. Welcome to lesson number 2. Hopefully you were able to think about and memorize all the different parts of the guitar: head, neck, body, frets, fingerboard, tuning, all those things, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about when we talk about those things, and you'll be able to recognize it immediately on your guitar. And the other thing I hope is that your guitar is in tune. Mine is. And that you were able to figure out even how to tune it, and then you would know all the names of the strings. That was last time, right? E, A, D, G, B, E. Those are all the strings. Today, and then the 2 chords. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I almost forgot. We talked about 2 chords. We talked about the A chord, which I showed you 4 different ways to play a version of the A chord, right? First it was this one, which is your middle finger, first finger, and third finger all stacked like that. And I said that's really hard to do. So then you could stack it like this, or you can play it with a bar with your finger over the D string, the G string, the D string, E string, all one, but just mute that E string at the bottom. Or I showed you about A2, playing it that way, where your middle finger goes right here on the D string, and then right underneath it, your ring finger goes on the G string here, and then these bottom 2 are open. And you start with the top. You can mute the top one with your thumb, and you start here. And then E minor is what we talked about next, which is basically taking your 2 fingers and moving up 1 string each. So on the A string, your middle finger on the 2nd fret, and then your ring finger right underneath it on the D string on the 2nd fret, playing all the strings open. And so what I was playing at the beginning there was just a little bit of an E minor, and A minor, right? Well, today I want to go over 2 more chords that I want to add to your practice routine. And that is the D chord and the G chord, okay? So D chord and the G chord. So first thing, let's go back and let's practice the A chord, okay? So let's practice A2. So put your fingers right there. Like we already showed, middle finger on the D string, 2nd fret, and then your 3rd finger, your ring finger right underneath it, 2nd fret on the G string. And then mute up here, get that whole thing, right? And I want you to work on your strumming too while we're doing this, okay? So really easy, a down, 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 up, down. Okay, try that. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. And you can put those together. Now, one of the tricks that I've learned is when you are strumming, to always keep your wrist and your arm going, and then when you want to go to the downs, you go down, and instead of striking the strings up while you're like this, you just pull your hand away from the strings down. So down, down, up, down, and you're always doing this motion. See, like down, down. And that keeps you just kind of in a rhythm, and that's how you learn how to play that right hand rhythm guitar stuff. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. All right, let's change to the E minor now. All All right, that's the one we've been working on for the past little bit here. So same thing, down, down, up, up, down. And then I want you to try to switch between the two, okay? So down, down, up, up, down. It's A2. Switch to E minor. Back to A2. E minor. All right, great job, great job. Okay, so now we're gonna learn the D chord. Okay, so take your hand, we're gonna be mostly on the 2nd fret again, but you're going to take your first finger, your pointer finger, and you're gonna put it right on the 3rd, the G string here on the 2nd fret. Then you're gonna take your middle finger and you're gonna put it on the bottom string, the E string, on the 2nd fret. And then you're gonna take your ring finger and you're gonna put it on the B string on the 3rd fret. Okay, so it should look just like this. All right, now you're gonna take your thumb, if you have big enough hands. If you don't have big enough hands, it's okay, you can put your thumb in the back here. But if you have big enough hands, you can wrap your thumb around the neck and mute the top 2 strings, because we're not gonna play those. It sounds awful if you play those. Yucks. So we wanna mute those top 2 strings with our thumb if you can. That way you're not playing them. Because you only want to play this. This is your root note. This is the D, which forms your chord. Then and once you get them all clean, sometimes it'll sound like this. But one of the things I like to do is like to put my chords together, and then I like to play each note of the chord to make sure they're all clean. So if it sounds like this, then you need to either move your finger, press harder, or you need to move your finger away from the frets, more towards the middle of the middle of the position instead of closer to the frets. And then you can wrap around if you have big enough hands to be able to mute. And then you do down, down, up, up, down, okay? And that's the D chord. And then you can add that chord to your other ones. So your A2, E minor, D. Now it might take you a little longer than it took me right there to switch it over, because you might do something like this and might have to go. But that's okay, you're just starting out, and once you get more comfortable, your fingers will just naturally, with muscle memory, go right to that. So you know, that just takes years and years and practice and practice and practice and practice, right? So, but that's the D chord. Work on that chord, play that one. That's a fun one to play. All right, now we're gonna work on the G chord. Now there's multiple ways of playing this chord. If you have a book that you're looking at, or online guitar lessons, they've taught you probably to play it a few different ways. The way that I first learned how to play it was by taking your first finger and putting it on this string up here, the A string on the 2nd fret. Take your middle finger, put it on the low E string on the 3rd fret, and then take your ring finger and you're gonna stretch it all the way down, and you're gonna put it on the very high E string on the 3rd fret. And you're gonna play all the strings, okay? So that is the G chord. So I used to play it like that. That was the very first way I learned how to play it. But what I found was it was really hard to switch between that and all the rest of the chords. It took forever. Now that I've gotten a lot, played a lot more and gotten better, I can do it faster. But starting out, it was so hard to switch between this G and then a D. It still is hard. See, I even fumbled right there because I'm not used to playing it like this. I haven't played like this for forever. And you can play it that way if you prefer, if you like. But as I started taking, that was when I was reading a book and looking at it. As I started taking my own lessons with my guitar teacher, he taught me to play it using my last 3 fingers. So he said, instead of putting your pointer finger here, put your middle finger on this A string on the 2nd fret. Put your 3rd finger on the E string on the 3rd fret, and then put your pinky on the high E on the 3rd fret, and play it like that with your 1st finger open. Now, this is a really great way to play the G chord, and the reason it's a great way to play the G chord is because now your 1st finger is open to do all kinds of extra stuff. So, like, and I played the G chord like that for years because, it was a lot easier to switch between that and other chords like D. And I played it like that for a long time. But then I stumbled across some other kind of guitar lessons and playing just with friends, and I noticed that they were playing a different chord. They were playing a G over D chord, which they just add in this high D note. Just adding in that high D. Number one, it makes it sound really nice. Like, listen, here's the other G chord. That, like. But then you add in that D note. It makes it sound really full, right? So here's how you do that. You just take your 1st finger, put it here on this A string, 2nd fret, 3rd finger here on the low E string, 3rd fret. Now you're going to take your ring finger and you're going to put it right on this B string on the 3rd fret, and then you're going to take your pinky and put it right underneath it on the E string on the 3rd fret. Now, make sure you get all those strings. So we've got to check all the strings, make sure they're all clean, right? So. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do down, down, up, up, down on this, okay? Now here's a little trick. We're going to switch between this chord and the D. And I want you to see, look at my hands, how quickly you can switch with this kind of a G-shaped chord to your D chord. It makes it so much faster. I mean, try doing it the other way. This one you have to take all your fingers off the board and reposition them. Look at this, ready? All you're doing is you're taking your middle finger off and you're moving your 1st finger down to that G string on the 2nd fret. In fact, a good way to practice doing that is by getting yourself in the D chord and then adding your pinky underneath here. See that on the 3rd fret on the high E string. Should sound like that. And then take your 1st finger off. And then add your 1st finger on. Now, if you just take your middle finger here and then your 1st finger here, like for the G chord, and then go down to the D, now that may take a little work to get back and forth like that, but it's a lot easier way to do it. So G, here's another fun thing. So if you're playing a D, and you take your first two fingers here, and you put them here, so your first finger is going to go on the D string on the 2nd fret, and then your second finger is going to go right underneath it on the G string on the 2nd fret, and you mute the top string with your thumb. You're playing what's known as A suspended. And then you can go up to the G, so D, switch those chords all around. You can go D, G, A, suspended, it's a real easy way to learn how to switch some chords around without not having to move all your fingers. So you can start there. So that's what I want you to work on. I want you to work on the D chord. You can add that pinky in if you want. That's a D suspend 4, I think. Then G. You can work on the other forms of G too if you want. Or I would really encourage you to play that. D. You can work on your A and E minor. Then you can work on your A suspend also, which is that chord we already did. All right, so work on those and get those down and try to be able to switch pretty well before you move on to the next lesson. All right, this has been a fun time. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see how far you go with the guitar. And this is a really fun instrument, and it's a very rewarding instrument because with not a ton of time, you can actually play songs and play stuff that's recognizable. Well, thanks for watching, and look forward to lesson number 3. See you later.